Cool, we are live. Hello and welcome to everybody for joining us today on this very exciting recap. Good morning to our friends in the United States. Also, good afternoon to our friends in Europe. We're very excited to have you here. And with me today, we have three very, very exciting guests. Some of them you know, but I think you should be knowing all of them if you are living in the Snowflake ecosystem. Piers, Batchelor, Konrad, Maliszewski, and Anna Abramova. Today to discuss the Snowflake Summit 2025 recap. As always, we see the live streams, we obviously hear the news, but what's actually quite interesting is what are the stories from the ground? What are the opinions of the people who actually attended? What was the gossip? What were the parties? So there's a little bit of an informal kind of summary, and I'm very, very glad to have here this audience with me. Before we start, I would like to ask everybody here to introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your companies as well, and how come you ended up at the Snowflake conference last week, and maybe starting off with Anna. Glad to have you.
Happy to start. Anna Abramova. I'm a founding team at SqIDBM Cloud Data Modeling for Snowflake. This was my fourth Snowflake Summit already. So fourth time actually being a sponsor and being on the floor. I've been in Vegas and San Francisco. So yeah, continuing to be part of the ecosystem.
Over to you, Piers Batchelor. I think you're famous. You should be famous by now. I think that's what happens to data superheroes. What's a data superhero? Anyway, introduce yourself, Piers.
Yeah, so Piers Batchelor, Senior Product Manager, Astrato Analytics, been around here since the beginning, and it's my fourth summit. Just like Anna, Vegas, San Francisco, and I am a Snowflake data superhero and Snowflake user group chapter leader as well. So very excited to see colleagues and friends from all over the world there.
Okay, wonderful. You probably have a lot of insights, and you always tell me I cannot share. Let's see. Very glad to have also Konrad Maliszewski from Crisp.
Hello. Yeah, thanks for having me. So my name is Konrad Maliszewski. I'm VP of Technology at Crisp, looking after the engineering team for the Atheon Analytics business line. So Atheon was acquired by Crisp 2 months ago. We both are retail analytics companies. Atheon is actually one of the earliest UK Snowflake customers. So we've been with them for around 6 years, I think, when we rebuilt the whole product on top of Snowflake. But compared to Anna and Piers, I'm Summit virgin. It was the first time for me. So hopefully different perspectives to you both.
Okay, wonderful. And it's not an accident that we have an implementation partner, another technology vendor, and a data superhero. So hopefully a lot of diversity here on the mix. So maybe quick question, vibes on the floor. And I'll start maybe with Konrad because it was your first time. And then over Piers and to Anna. How was it being on the floor? What was the energy like? The people, were they sleepy? Were they excited? Something interesting or unusual compared maybe to last year's?
So I would say I didn't do my homework. I didn't know what to expect. I just packed up and went, and it was huge. That's what I kept telling everyone. I didn't expect the size of it. I thought Big Data London is big. This is probably twice bigger, and it's just one vendor, sponsoring, but lots of vendors on the floor, thousands of people. I don't know what the stats are on the summit, but yeah, it's the immensity of it. That was a big surprise. 540 talks, I think I've seen on the agenda. So, I had ambitions to go to a few, but there was just so much going on.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers. We're going to come to that as well, because I think there's a little bit of cheating of the numbers with the free day on Thursday.
Cheating. Dev Day always, kind of changes the numbers a little bit. And the audience on Dev Day is a little different, I would say, because you get, which is a good thing. I'm glad they are doing it because there's a lot of students. just kind of like learning about the industry. But yeah, I would say first 2 days and then the last one are a little different.
Okay. So Anna, what were the vibes for yourself?
Busy. It's one of the two main events for us in the year. So for us, it's like a main focus, and we're the busiest during Snowflake Summit. So for me, it was always it's the customer base, it's the partners, and interacting with Snowflake itself. So for me, my version of Christmas in the summer.
Brilliant. And I can see Piers here already, pictures of himself mostly. He probably had the biggest blast. I think compared to
the most pictures.
Yeah. So compared to like, I also attended, I think it was the third one or the fourth, I don't know, third one. But comparing like to last year's, I can clearly see a completely different theme. I think 3 or 4 years ago was like, cloud data warehouse or the data cloud. Then it became the AI, and this year was all about chat, Gen AI on every kind of booth, on every kind of presentation, I believe. I don't think you were qualified to do a presentation if AI didn't come up. So looking, I mean, it's incredible how fast the landscape changes. Maybe around the announcements itself from Snowflake, Piers, because you're extremely techy. What was the thing that impressed you the most? Or maybe you can summarize all of them and then highlight on the ones that you found most interesting.
So I think there's two that really stand out. There's, of course, OpenFlow and Snowflake Intelligence. OpenFlow being Snowflake's own transformation layer. They describe it slightly differently, actually, but effectively that could be quite disruptive, bringing people away from certain partners into a single unified platform. So a modern data platform almost on its way to replacing parts of the modern data stack. It's definitely a forward-looking capability, but yeah, it's definitely one to watch. And of course, Snowflake Intelligence, their AI chat, that is particularly impressive as well. There's a lot to do that, ai.snowflake.com. So I've been trying that out already.
Okay, Konrad, you as an implementation partner, you obviously are working with a lot of technologies day in and day out. I mean, I'm biased. We only live in a visualization world. Probably Anna in the data modeling world with SqIDBM. What was your impression of those announcements, or were you like, nah, so what?
No, I think actually, yeah, two similar things that stood out for me is around what Piers said. So, well, it's that thing around making a move towards a one computing platform. That's an interesting one, and that OpenFlow especially. And what I'm wondering about is, is it about ingestion of data from structured sources like different SaaS apps, like other vendors do? Or is it more than that? Is it more about unstructured data as well? And actually, is the ambition there to have as much data of any type in Snowflake? Because then that's in preparation for what's coming with intelligence, AI, etc. You just need loads of data for that. So those are two kind of interesting things that intersect each other.
Okay. Anna, you guys are living a lot in the data modeling world, and we saw the acquisition of Crunchy Data, which is Postgres database, but managed within Snowflake. I think that's the vision. I think for you guys, this is probably great because it's more TAM, more potential customers, right? Like, how do you see Postgres in your world?
We've been supporting just traditional Postgres since early days, so it's kind of cool to see now Postgres going to be part of Snowflake in an embedded way. For me, this one was very interesting because I'm looking at Snowflake and Databricks kind of making the competitive moves, because Databricks acquired Neon and then Snowflake went with Crunchy Data, but both are to kind of with the idea of unifying everything OLTP and all app under the same umbrella. I was hoping for Snowflake to comment a little bit more on crunchy data, but I feel like since this is very new, there's not much information really of how, like, what the implementation is going to look like. So I'm kind of on standby. But yes, basically relational modeling is important again, and transactional databases are hot yet again.
I wonder how quickly they signed the term sheet and the transaction before even having any kind of value creation plan. But generally, I find it extremely positive. Postgres is a widely adopted database, and anytime we encounter Postgres customers, and there are a few of them, they always come with the same kind of requirements around, hey, how do I manage security? How do I connect to it and I don't know, scale it better, and all the stuff that Snowflake does great, but you can't really do it in Postgres unless you build everything yourself. So I'm actually quite optimistic about it. But yeah, let's see. I think one thing that you mentioned there, Anna, is actually quite interesting, which is there was not much commentary around it. No,
she just said we acquired them, right? That was it.
Did you manage to meet? There was the team, I think, on the floor. I saw them. There was quite a crowd around, like the Postgres guys. So I didn't talk to them. But have you had a chance to talk to them?
Piers?
No.
You must have gotten a VIP introduction, 101.
Ooh, there were VIP introductions. It was quite busy, but I think I was making the most of my time speaking to customers at our booth.
Of course you did. Okay, you passed the test.
It's busy in all areas. Yeah.
Speaking about announcements, though, right? You said they didn't announce much. I think as we went through the announcements, especially around OpenFlow and also intelligence, I mean, let's be honest, right? They have an ecosystem right now, Fivetran, Airbyte, a lot of transformation technologies. You have ThoughtSpot, which does Snowspot, which all of a sudden is like included natively in Snowflake. And there was no commentary when and how to use what, and that created a little bit of controversy. Piers, maybe you know a little bit more behind the scenes, but that seems a little bit like, frenemy smooth, I would say. How should vendors think about partnering with Snowflake in such a case?
Great question. And whilst I'm a Snowflake data superhero, I don't have any inside scoop on this one. But my personal point of view is that it makes sense to be able to offer features natively and maybe not focus too much on what partners are doing. So be able to say to someone looking at Snowflake, do we have this capability? Yes or no? Can you get it elsewhere that's maybe more richer, that's more built towards your use case? Yeah, but it's great to have something to have a good foundation for people just starting out with their data stack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree actually. For the entrance point, it's kind of just a nice answer to have of like, do you guys support this if this is expected? But I do anticipate that for complex, like real use cases, you'd still go with a vendor that's purpose built for it versus something native. Probably something native you just use for something quick, or maybe when you're just starting. And then I do think that the ecosystem, the partner ecosystem, is still there to fulfill a need of complex use cases.
And I think you said that really, really nice just now, Anna. And I think if Snowflake had just literally said what you said, there would have been zero confusion thereafter at all. And I agree fundamentally. I think this is, as Piers says, right? If it's easier to get started, then you can get more Snowflake customers to get started. So it increases actually the entire market. But why confuse the buyer universe? Tell them quite clearly, hey, basic stuff with us will always improve. Special stuff, go with a vendor. They do amazing things, and decide yourself. Okay, I find that very, very interesting. From Konrad, from your side, I think I didn't get a chance to attend many sessions. I don't know how many you attended, but you got the count right. So were there any kind of interesting sessions that you said, actually, I learned a lot there? And if so, which ones were they?
Yeah, so I structured my sessions around two themes. One was agentic AI, and then another was Apache Iceberg. So those are two things. One is, lots of hype. So let's see if someone will actually cut through the hype and tell me something that's real. That somewhat happened. So I think what I've learned around agents, agentic AI and use cases is that it doesn't quite work on data analytics quite yet. I've seen some, I think, convincing stories of how people deployed it successfully for reading unstructured data, PDFs, and then turning that into structured data within Snowflake. There was another talk around supporting the support function, so searching knowledge bases, etc. So once you pull all that data into Snowflake and then you deploy your agents in the right way, it becomes a very powerful tool. And then on Iceberg, again, I read about it. I know conceptually what it is, but I actually managed to hear about some real use cases. I think one that stood out was from a tech team at Lidl, so the big supermarket chain in Europe, where they take all of their ERP data, put into Iceberg as the main thing to standardize processes, some of the transformations. But then what Iceberg enables them to do is, well, offer analytics on Snowflake as the main entry point, but also enable other teams to use other tools that they might want to use, such as Databricks, or maybe connecting directly to it. So yeah, quite
Okay,
useful.
I tend to think too, and one that I found quite interesting actually was a Toyota presentation where they adopted a data mesh strategy with Snowflake, sadly Power BI, but we're working on that with Astrato potentially. But the journey was quite interesting. But the thing that, and I managed to speak with a speaker at one of the parties actually in the evenings, and I found it quite interesting that Toyota, which is typically, a laggard, or manufacturing, which is typically a laggard in the technology curve, was actually so far ahead when it comes to their data mesh approach, and how independent and agile every team was operating with data products. So they were literally at the forefront of that. And eventually the conversation went in a direction that actually Toyota has a production line, so processes, and being able to model a process and to always be, at the cutting edge of any kind of process, and in this instance, data processes, is actually ingrained in their culture. So actually, yeah, I found that quite inspiring. It would be quite interesting if the manufacturing technology sector ended up being the most innovative when it comes to adopting analytics at scale, and not unsurprisingly, potentially. We spoke a bit about agentic AI, and on, I think, also with the presentation of Sam Altman, I think the theme was set there. If we think about agentic AI in the world of data, I believe one important aspect is the data needs to be in the right shape. I can only think of SqIDBM, that SqIDBM is the most important thing. They get your data modeling right, because agentic AI will only be as successful as the data model. Is that the case, Anna? How do you see it?
Absolutely, and I already heard some POCs that some of our partners are trying to do, and they report back that when you have access to a data model with defined relationships between tables, and specifically logical relationships that have a little bit of description to them, then the quality of answers improves significantly, and a rate of hallucinations drops down. So when we talk about context-aware agentic AI, I do see data modeling playing a big part in making that a reality.
And I would definitely concur. And the semantic layer was a topic in this as well.
Big topic, yeah.
Piers, you're working with our Gen AI capabilities at Astrato. What's your view now? What's the most important aspect to agentic AI?
Ooh, good question. I guess that is part of it, is the question. One thing I often say is you get what you ask for with agentic AI. But I think a big thing which I'm seeing more of our customers do, actually, I like to think of our customers as innovators is utilizing the fine-tuned models alongside AI agents. So fine-tuning in Snowflake Cortex, that is so powerful, bringing the knowledge of your business alongside it, and it's just got easier to do over time. I do it without code. It's quite impressive.
Yeah. Konrad, have you in your implementation world built any agentic chats that allow? I mean, it sounds like a dream of every organization. Hey, I want ChatGPT, but on top of my data. Has that been like a top request for you?
Well, yeah, of course it comes up. This day and age, you can't avoid it. To be honest, we had a go internally, not using any tools, just straight to the model and try to connect that to our database. And we failed quite miserably. So that didn't work out, which is why Snowflake Cortex, talking to vendors, dinners, happy hours behind the scenes. I think I got a lot of insight on how other people do it and how it can be done effectively. And it's all, I think, like Anna and Piers are saying, it's the context, it's the layers behind it. If you get that right, everything that sits behind the model, then you can aim for some good results. So for us, the next step is probably to have a proper go at Cortex and see how far we can take that.
Yeah, and I concur. Context is everything. But I would also like to. I don't know, from what I've seen so far is, text to SQL works brilliantly if you have one flat table. Reality is probably Anna can concur, is we have multi-fact, multi-dimensional data models, and that's how businesses are organized. And writing queries across them is not an easy thing, even if you define the relationships between themselves. Has there been
on a small set of tables, all POCs work phenomenally well. Once you increase the number closer to reality, right, of like hundreds of tables in a data warehouse, yeah, you lose it.
Yeah, I think one quote I remember like that stuck with me is that, like, you should think about agentic AI as you're very, very smart, very, very intelligent, let's say McKinsey educated expert who comes to your organization, but day one they still have to be trained for 2-3 weeks and be provided context with your data. So I don't think there's a way around it, and there's definitely no magic bullet on just throwing Cortex or AI at your data. You could require the semantic model and the data model to be well defined. Interesting to see where this goes. By the way, I found some customers they built a chatbot as well for a year, only to realize now they can do that in Snowflake natively. So there's some frustration there as well. So again, would be great if the roadmap would be much more clearly defined. But I guess at this pace where we are, who knows effectively where it's going to go. What surprised you the most, I would say? Like, if you can name one thing, Anna. Well, what is the weirdest or most unexpected thing you saw?
Well, for me, just seeing Sam Altman being part of Snowflake's keynote and like some movement with OpenAI was interesting to me. Like Fee for sure was like a surprise guest for me for the conference. I'm hoping they will have more collaboration going forward, and seeing things from Snowflake and OpenAI together, like that will be my wish list item.
This is me also at the keynote. I think we got a front row. Piers, what about you? I mean, there should be no surprises because obviously you were all well informed, Mr. Superhero.
Yeah, you knew ahead of time, didn't you? But you couldn't tell anyone?
Most of the topics, yeah, there were a few surprises for me because I can't join every single session, and some of the things that were just days before, whether I was traveling or couldn't catch up with the recording. So there were a few things that I hadn't really looked into in a lot of detail. OpenFlow was something that I was more familiar with. But the going into detail with workspaces and DBT projects was quite interesting, and you could hear the whispers in the room about how excited people were about those. So I felt that surprise firsthand in terms of some of the detail behind it. But bullet point, yeah, they're pretty clear. Adaptive compute was pretty cool though. That was interesting.
Konrad, your view?
I think I would say probably the Postgres acquisition. It seems obvious now, but there's kind of blurred lines between OLAP and OLTP. I didn't quite expect that. I think AI features probably expected a lot of those, but the whole move upstream into ingestion, I didn't think it through. But yeah, it seems obvious, but I was surprised.
Yeah, since we're mentioning weirdest here as well. So I'm gonna give those companies a shout out, but I think MotherDuck used to be a partner of Snowflake. Definitely, I saw them at one of the conferences in the past year. This year they didn't participate, but they threw a massive party on Monday, and not just a massive party that they hugely advertised. There was like a flock of little of people cycling around the venue in like chicken costumes to advertise a party. So it looks like they're becoming competitive. I think there's the Duck Lake being announced, but I found that one to be at least creative. I didn't go to the party, so I was duck costumes. Fair enough, Piers. Which is actually quite interesting. So one thing of the event is, of course, be at the venue, look at the exhibitors, get informed, look at the keynotes. But I think a very equal important part is what happens outside of it, because everybody, a lot of tech leaders and industry winners are in the same space. So there's a lot of activities happening in various parties. So maybe let's talk a little bit about the social aspect. Konrad, what was the coolest kind of like after show thing you attended? And why was it Matillion?
I think I would say, what did I do? Well, I would concur that there was lots of it. So, you would start at the Snowflake Summit. There was then usually one or two happy hours, one or two dinner invites, and some after parties. I didn't make it to those parties because it was too much for me by that point. But I think it looked like the venue for the happy hours was rooftop bars. So I know I managed to get a couple. I don't know about the others, but there were some pretty good views of the city and the Bay Area.
Anna, how about you? Or you were working, so we were tired.
I didn't go to any evening parties this time. Only customer dinner. We didn't. This was first time we didn't organize a happy hour, like a big party, because we did it every year, and then this year we decided to spend more kind of like smaller groups and then just do customer dinners instead. Quite an interesting decision, and I think we'll like it more that way, because like everyone is throwing a big party and throwing their marketing dollars at it. We just ended up hosting a few customers. So yeah, I was there. I didn't join any craziness this year. So you guys have to. I hope you party for me.
Do you
also
remember, Anna, when I think that was 2 years ago in Las Vegas, where I think 4 technology vendors rented the Omni Club, and they just had a logo on the wall, and they paid for all the drinks and the rent?
I remember I was talking about it. Yeah, all the drinks were free. It was the entire club. It was massive, and a lot of people showed up. But I don't know how do you trace that back to?
Do you remember the vendors?
I I do not. I think Atlan was one of them. Atlan is kind of everywhere, but I don't.
So much to say around brand awareness of these events. I completely agree, and we had a wind down on Monday actually, where Konrad attended, Joe Warwick and many others, and we found it actually more intimate, where you could actually converse and talk, and it's not too busy. So I think absolutely, and I agree from a vendor perspective, these smaller events are actually much more nicer than parties. But Piers, you literally had to show up, right? You had a busy schedule. What was yours? And what is this crocodile coming from? Did you take it?
I didn't take this picture, but yeah, I tried to go between different events where people would have me. And yeah, this was one of the ones that I didn't get to go to. And I think this is a smoked alligator.
Oh, I heard about this
Mhm.
alligator. Actually, someone told me.
I know whose event this is, but if you attended, put it in the comments and yeah, tell us who it is if you know, because I want to see how many of you went to an event and remember all the vendors who hosted.
Okay.
This one might be easier because they had an alligator.
I agree, Konrad, though the rooftops were the nicest because you could see a little bit of a skyline of San Francisco, which for us non-Americans is always a beautiful thing to see. So maybe Piers, you can maybe move to slide actually 38. I think we've prepared like an overview of all the features and announcements that were made. 38, yeah, one before, and I can see there's like a conversation as well as some questions, so maybe we can cover some of those before we wrap up. But is there anything you did not like? Ooh, Anna.
Ooh, there was one thing I didn't like, but I don't know. I guess I was maybe, I wouldn't say didn't like, but I expected a little bit more from the keynote, to be honest. But maybe that's my problem. Like my expectations were too high, but I left a little underwhelmed.
Okay, are you at the Databricks conference this year?
I am.
How does the keynote compare there?
It's a lot more technical. It's a lot more. Okay, let's dive into all of the updates. I did like the timing of Snowflake because their keynote was evening. Databricks keynote started at 8 a.m. So I wasn't ready for all of that information, to be honest. So timing, logistically, Snowflake was better. But yeah, and well, hey, the Olympics committee collaboration was kind of covered at the keynote. So that was interesting. For Snowflake because so next Olympics are going to be in LA, and Snowflake is the official data partner. So that was a really cool kind of story to follow. So yeah,
it's not far away from where you live, right? Because you're based in San Diego, right?
Yeah. I'll be right in the heat of all of it. It's 2028, I think. It's still a couple of years away, but this is a big event, so it'll take them all those years to
fantastic.
prep.
I found it a bit ironic that the committee received a snowboard as a thing of recognition for a summer event.
But it's gonna be Summer Olympics, right?
Exactly. Piers, anything you didn't like?
There was a lot I did like. If I speak on behalf of others, maybe. Yeah, so I liked that customers were presenting some of the new features. I guess one I didn't like, some of the detail or use cases could have been a little bit richer. I know it's difficult to align so many different people traveling in from all around the world. It's a good start. I think I'd like to see more of that next year, in more detail, not Databricks level. I think that's too much.
Konrad, I mean, you don't have many other to compare it to Snowflake conferences, but did it meet your expectation?
Yeah, I would say overall very much. Hopefully it's not too controversial in terms of what I didn't like, since all of you exhibited there. But I think some of the vendors were quite, what's the right word? Aggressive, I don't know, ambitious in trying to intercept people passing by. So as an introvert, I talk to many vendors and I prefer when it's done in a classy way. And there were some vendors where it was like, you had to go in a big circle to avoid being intercepted and scanned 20 times in a day. So, but it's a minor complaint.
Yeah, I mean, sponsoring these venues is fairly expensive, as Anna can confirm with a coffee breakout session. So it's all about getting the MQLs recorded to make sure that you can show some ROI. I saw some...
Yeah, and then spam people with email marketing emails.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. I'm so
The
sorry.
Yeah,
US
I can-
conferences
I
are
can
wildly
appreciate
different to
that.
the European ones as well.
Yeah. I think if I can say my view is I agree with you, Anna. I thought the keynote was very scripted. Hey,
I feel bad saying this. I know it's so hard to put these things together, but yes, it was like a lot of like generic conceptual words and scripts, but I missed something, and I can't even put a finger
It
on
wasn't
it.
Yeah.
AI, was it?
no, yeah. So Streeter was super scripted. Like when at some point when he said, "Hey, it's electrifying," like you don't even believe that, do you? But to be fair, you can see he was a geek because during the conversation with Sam Altman, he completely changed. It became super interesting.
Yeah, that was a lot. Yeah, that I kind of wish it was longer because when the conversations with the New York Stock Exchange lady, I forgot her name, and then Sam, like when actually speaking about the geeky stuff, yeah, he got a lot more like into it. So maybe it's just like he was like, "Hey guys, I'm a nerd," right? So
Absolutely.
maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, so yeah, I would say if we have any Snowflake employees here, I know Joe Worthington is listening in. More authenticity, you cannot be wrong. We love imperfections. It makes us more engaged as well. But with this, I would like to wrap up. Thank you very much for the questions from the audience and also the crew here and the willingness to show up and speak about their experiences. Maybe like final words, Anna, Piers, and Konrad before we close.
Believe in the future of Snowflake. They've gotten so big, and but they keep innovating while being so big. That's amazing for us as the industry. And I know as long as the Snowflake ship keeps growing and going further, as partner ecosystem, we only get benefits of it. So no, like go Snowflake, and I look forward to Snowflake Summit next year.
Okay, and for sure, anybody who works or uses Snowflake needs to be doing data modeling, and don't make this a afterthought. Reach out to Anna. Their demos are actually quite impressive, and it's actually not that hard, I believe, even to get started. Piers, any last words from you?
Yeah, try out the features, even if you might not be ready for them, because that way you're going to know what's coming when that roadmap really bulks out. There's a lot to be excited about. I am.
Super. Konrad, you have almost a final word.
Okay, cool. So as a summit version, then I would encourage users and customers to try and go as well. I think it's a great experience. It's harder to put an ROI on it if you're not exhibiting or trying to find leads, but I think there's a lot of intangibles that you get from it by meeting people from the community and just exposing yourself to a bit of serendipity. So yeah, it's a good investment.
Fantastic. Well, with this, I hope to see this crew here again next year. For everybody who is in London, we're holding a BI for Breakfast event as well, where I'll be there with our beautiful customers, EAG Loyalty, and the fantastic stuff they've done. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and I'll see you around. Until next time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.